Good morning, everyone. It's September 11th, 2018. America. 17 years ago today changed America and the world for the worse. We might recall that two planes, passenger airliners, crashed into the World Trade Centers, buildings 1 and 2. We might recall that later that day, a third building fell, Building 7. This building, it housed the same information the Pentagon housed, which was attacked as well. Since then, legislation such as the NDAA, the Patriot Act, National Resources Preparedness Act, and so on. Since then, thousands and thousands of women and children have been slaughtered at the hands of our government in nations that had absolutely nothing to do with the events of that day. They had pre-planned all the nations they wanted to invade, and the justification for it was 9/11. Since then, Iraq has fallen. Since then, Afghanistan. Since then, Libya. We have Syria and Iran left to go. Probably Lebanon. And we have to remember, none of these people had a single thing to do with 9/11. In fact, you might remember that a group of individuals from the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence services, was caught filming and celebrating when the attacks took place. And they, along with many other Israelis, were arrested at that time and deported. You got to remember that the group of individuals who they claim bombed, hijacked those airliners, were supposedly Muslim, but behaved in a way that would indicate that they're not actually Muslim. I'm talking about the fact that these guys were in Florida the night before, snorting cocaine and hanging out with strippers. Sounds like a good time, doesn't it? And one thing that leads me to believe they weren't Muslim at all is the fact that I think it was Muhammad Atta left his Quran at that same strip club. But, and look, ever since then, there's been articles written, there's been press conferences made, videos made, debunking the official narrative, which is a lie. Remember what the Project for a New American Century, a Jewish/neocon think tank, said that absent a new Pearl Harbor, we're not going to be able to do shit. And I'm paraphrasing. They needed a new Pearl Harbor to justify all the actions that have taken place since then. Now, if the Gulf of Tonkin was fake, if the Israelis, bombed one of our intelligence vessels back when they were fighting Egypt to lure us into a war. Why does it seem so outlandish that they would do something like 9/11? Anyway, somebody who much more in tune with all the information regarding 9/11 has an article at the Activist Post. John Whitehead of the Rutherford Institute. He says, "What I don't like about life in post 9/11 America." And there's a lot not to like. A patriot must always be ready to defend his country against his government. Edward Abbey, an American author. Life in post 9/11 America increasingly feels like an endless freefall down a rabbit hole into a terrifying, dystopian alternative reality in which the citizenry has no rights. The government is no friend to freedom, and everything we ever knew and loved about the values and principles that once made this country great has been turned on its head. We've walked a strange and harrowing road since 9/11, 2001, littered with the debris of our once valued liberties. We have gone from a nation that took great pride in being a model of a representative democracy to being a model of how to persuade the citizenry to march in lockstep with a police state. Osama bin Laden warned, they said right, but I think rightly is what they were looking for. Osama bin Laden rightly warned that freedom and human rights in America are doomed. That came from Osama bin Laden. The U.S. government will lead the American people and the West in general into an unbearable hell and a choking life. These past 17 years have proven bin Laden right in his prediction. What began with the passage of the Patriot Act in October 2001 has snowballed into the eradication of every vital safeguard against government overreach, corruption, and abuse. The citizenry's unquestioning acquiescence to anything the government wants to do in exchange for the phantom promise of safety and security has resulted in a society where the nation is being locked down into a militarized, mechanized, hypersensitive, legalistic, self-righteous, goose-stepping antithesis of every principle upon which this nation was founded. This is not freedom. This is a jail cell. Set against a backdrop of government surveillance, militarized police, SWAT team raids, asset forfeiture, eminent domain, overcriminalization, armed surveillance drones, whole body scanners, stop and frisk searches, roving viper raids, and the like, all of which have been sanctioned by Congress, the White House, and the courts. Our constitutional freedoms have been steadily chipped away at, undermined, eroded, whittled down, and generally discarded. I've shown in previous videos that this phantom freedom that everyone thought we had, or thinks we have, was legislated away long ago. Since the creation of the Federal Reserve, we have been living Constitution free, and we've been living a lie. Those freedoms were taken away long ago. Our losses are mounting with every passing day. Free speech, the right to protest, the right to challenge government wrongdoing, due process, a presumption of innocence, the right to self-defense, accountability, and transparency in government, privacy, press, sovereignty, assembly, bodily integrity, representative government, all of these and more have become casualties in the government's war on the American people. A war that has grown more pronounced since 9/11. Since the towers fell on 9/11, the American people have been treated like enemy combatants, to be spied on, tracked, scanned, frisked, searched, and subjected to all manner of intrusion, intimidation, invaded, raided, manhandled, censored, silenced, shot, and so on. In allowing ourselves to be distracted by terror drills, foreign wars, color-coded warnings, underwear bombers, and other carefully constructed exercises in propaganda, sleight of hand, and obfuscation, we failed to recognize that the true enemy to freedom was lurking among us all the while. The U.S. government now poses a greater threat to our freedoms than any terrorist, extremist, or foreign entity ever could. While nearly 3,000 people died in the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. government and its agents has easily killed at least 10 times that number of civilians in the U.S. and abroad since 9/11 through its police shootings, SWAT team raids, drone strikes, and profit-driven efforts to police the globe, sell weapons to foreign nations, and foment civil unrest in order to keep the military-industrial complex gainfully employed. Now, the U.S. government is not the citizens' friend, nor is it our protector, and life in the United States of America post 9/11 is no picnic. In the interest of full disclosure, here are some of the things I don't like about life in a post 9/11 America. I don't like being treated as if my only value to the government is a source of labor and funds. And of course, you were treated that way before. I don't like being viewed as a consumer and bits of data. I don't like being spied on and treated as if I have no right to privacy, especially in my own home. I don't like government officials who lobby for my vote only to ignore me once elected. They've done that all along. I don't like having representatives incapable of unwilling to represent me. I don't like taxation without representation. And of course, that has been going on a long time too. The crimes that took place on 9/11 were crimes against you. They were crimes against your children. They were crimes against humanity. So, you shouldn't believe anything that's said by these people, because they're all liars, they're all thieves, and they're all fucking evil. What we really need to do is purge this country of the crybabies, of the liberals, of the government in its entirety. Then, and only then, will we be free. Hope you all have a good day. Kill the state before the state kills you.